What I wanted to talk about was optimizing a really diverse environmental control system. Smithfield Foods has, through acquisition and over the years, acquired different types and kinds of production systems, including a variety of barn designs. And my talk's going to be more about how do we take and try to optimize that system rather than try to maximize individual sites. So our system is really diverse. About 51.5% of it is natural ventilation with absolutely no fans in the barn whatsoever. An open ceiling truss design with outside manure storage, no deep pit, and everything ridgeline chimneys with dampers inside those chimneys that coordinate with 4 curtains, one in each quadrant of the barn. Really unique to Smithfield Foods, very low cost of operation, very effective even in a wean finish situation in Iowa in the winter. About 24% we refer to as power to natural, deep pit, and initially fans providing minimum ventilation. As temperature rises, then suddenly side curtains will lower and provide the rest of the ventilation. Finally, about 24.4% are traditional tunnel ventilated. And at the height, my people were dealing with 10 different controller platforms within the system. So really diverse. So how do we try to manage that and make sure that a really pretty large boat is going in one straight line direction? Growers that we work with expect our territory staff to be well-versed, if not an expert, in their individual controller. That's one of the things they expect from us. That's one of the things that we try to deliver to them as a partner in growing the pigs. And each staff member that I work with has their own special set of strengths and weaknesses. Some people are extremely good at discerning which pig should get individual treatment. Some people are extremely good at the mechanics of the barn, repair, and some are extremely good at the controller. But there's not one person within our group that's perfect at all those things. So again, brings into that diversity not only with a lot of different controllers, but with a lot of different skill levels within the group. So that is where we try to take a really standardized approach to how we manage our ventilation within the system of Smithfield. And I neglected to say that everything that we're dealing with is wean to finish. We're weaning about a 24-day-old pig being transported from outside of Iowa into our facility. So everything I'm speaking about is wean to finish. We use a really vigorous SOP approach to try to optimize our barn environments. If we tried to fine-tune and maximize each and every site, it would be chaotic at least. Again, going back to the different levels of skill and all the different controllers that we're working with. And in some cases, growers may have an agenda depending on their risk exposure to whatever their risk might be within it. For our situation, propane is one of the largest expenses that a grower is going to entertain. So depending on the outside temperatures and the price of propane, there can at times be conflicting urges as to how to run an operating system within a barn. We use what we call a clarification process. And what that allows input from the staff and from our growers to try to modify our standard operating procedures. So what we're doing is we're saying we want to operate this way, but it's not going to be cut and dried like that forever. And we want your input in a standardized fashion to get reviewed so that we can implement it across a really pretty large system. So that clarification process allows that SOP to be more of a living document so that it can be modified, and we always reserve the right to get smarter as we continue to grow these pigs. The requests are reviewed by our management team, and then the requests are either approved or not approved, and then we move on that way. But all in all, what we all are shooting for is what's best for the pig. How can we keep them comfortable, growing well, being efficient, converting feed, and gaining pounds? What's our approach to evaluating barn environment? We use observation, as Jay was stating earlier, to look at pigs. We do use what we call a standard site visit. It's an evaluation of all those items that are under the control of the farm manager. So if the pigs come in and are unhealthy pigs, we're not so much judging on that, but is the manager identifying and treating the pigs correctly? Is the manager keeping the equipment in operating condition? Is the manager keeping the settings where they should be? And all that creates a numerical score and just tries to reinforce to the grower what Smithfield believes to be important. And through that reinforcement, through multiple visits, we try to keep rowing the boat in the same direction. Some of the specific sections on barn environment, again, evaluation of the pigs and what they're telling us. Are they piled? Are they not piled? What are they trying to say? Are they sneezing, coughing? How are they acting? What are our five senses telling us when we go in there? We evaluate the settings that are in the controllers. Are they our SOP, or have we drifted a little bit? And and we evaluate the inputs. Are they logical? In other words, we walk into a barn. If I'm in a power barn and I've got a 36 and a 48 running, do my ceiling inlets appear to be where they ought to be, or are they wide open, or are they shut really, really tight? So do those inputs look logical, and can we then take another step and say, okay, that means this, and let's try to rectify that. And then finally, we evaluate one really important output for us when we're in minimum vent. Jay talked about static pressure and how it affects, and while we don't use manometers or measure static pressure, we use small anemometers, little Kestrel devices, and we're measuring the feet per minute out of the inlets at minimum, and we're converting that over logically into what pressure that's derived from. So if we can keep an airspeed somewhere in that 700 to 900 feet a minute at minimum, we know we're going to be able to distribute air in a way that's going to make the pigs comfortable and mix our air correctly. Then we say, well, we have all these controllers, we have all these people, so how do we keep the saw sharp so that we can continue to get better? We use a program of annual training with all of our staff. Twice a year, we'll get our major vendors together, and they provide us with both the equipment and assistance to review both their controller platform and how we want to use it. We do what we call a case study exercise. All the problems that come into us during the year and questions, we kind of log them in a library, and then we create questions for our groups at this training, and we'll set up a controller to have an error in it, and then we'll write a little narratives describing what's wrong, and then we'll have our teams try to evaluate what inside this controller is wrong and could be creating this situation. It works really effectively for us. And then we also have used the trailer that Jay spoke about. We've gathered on site. It's a really good tool to visualize static pressure, and also a really good tool when we talk about motor curves and minimum fans, and it's been a great help to us. Those trainings are an integral part. Without them, an SOP on its own is, it's a good step, but without having people that can think about it and get trained and retrained and refreshed in their mind, it's got to be a whole package in our mind to keep that working well. Really, that's the end of my presentation, and if there's any specific questions,
we'll take them at the end.
we'll take them at the end. Thanks, Brett.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ray.